Next thing is Rat Motorcycles. They'd rang up and they said, would you, Mamura Murawaki, who owns Murawaki, said, could you put Wayne up? I said, I don't want to put him up. I said, I don't even like him. Anyway, said, oh, just for a week till he settles. So, of course, he's never been to England before. He flies in on a jumbo jet. It's like late March, early April. It's snowing.
No heat.
It's freezing cold. He gets the underground to King's Cross to like Market Raisin, and I pick him up at Market Raisin.
The Raisin Mail boy.
Well, hi mate. It was like a movie. This carriage door opened. He come out with this brown suitcase. He had what we call them shorts. He calls them stubbies. He had these shorts on. He had flip-flops wired together with locking wire, and this brown suitcase and a t-shirt on. And like it was freezing. And then I took him back. I had to get him some clothes to wear. And cut a long story short, we ended up becoming really good mates. And everything we did was on a stopwatch, because we had like donkeys and that boarded in fields, and you know, we would hold on. We'd ride them backwards, holding on to the tail, and dig your legs in, and we'd on a stopwatch so you could stay on the line. Everything we did was had to be competitive.
Good.
Anyway, we had a year with Murawaki, and then we had a great success, and then Honda rang him up to team up with Aslam and Joey, and Suzuki rang me up because Graham Crosby was leaving to go with Aggo in GPs, and they wanted a third rider, so I ended up being a third rider to Grant. And
there we are.
Do you keep in touch with Wayne now?
Yeah, it was.
Still got that shitty handbag.
It's weird, really, because he won at Cadwell his first ever race, and he beat me and Shane. But I spent hours teaching him Cadwell, letting him follow me and blah blah blah. And on the sit up and beg Murawaki, which had a big engine in, spun the rear up, and he told me, he says, Roger, I'm going to smoke the rear tyre, I'm going to do wheelies, I'm going to win the fans over, and I'm going to be a works rider next year. And I thought, you're dreaming. And he was become a fan favourite, you know. They loved it. They loved this big handlebar thing, and he he went on to Honda, and then, but it took him. It took the British Championship. I think it was, I won it on the Suzuki, then I won it the next year. It took him 3 years before he got the British Championship off me, but I eventually joined him at Honda, and we were teammates there. But he went on to GPs, and then it was a funny thing, really, because they took Wayne to another level. Because I had Wayne drinking like real ale and everything. I got
turned him into a bloke.
I made him a proper Lincolnshire bloke, you know. So
I want to roll a tab, young.
Yeah. So they took him up to where they got him sports psychologist.
And salads
they ended up from his motorhome. They were escorting him to the garage, so he didn't have to sign autographs and all that. But Wayne was a typical Aussie, like Miller and them. He'd like to wheelie scooters, jump ditches wherever we were, and mess about. Anyway, this went on for 2 years, and then in '86 I was riding for Rothmans Honda in England, and then he rang me up, and we didn't have a meeting that weekend, and Assen was on. He says, Reg, I says, what? He says, on my way to your house. I said, oh, what? You're going to Assen? You're coming with me. And he ditched these sports psychologists. He said, you're the only person who's ever going to get me back on track. He said, my head's gone. So he picked me up in this Porsche. Off we went to the boat, drove up to Assen, got there for tea time. Donna's there in the big motorhome, 300-grand motorhome. Opened the door. Right, what do you want for your tea, Roger? I said, nothing. I said, I'm taking him out. We went into Assen, ditched the car on the way back, pissed as hell, and he woke up with a terrible headache, and Donna's going off on one. I said, I'll be right, you know, just get a couple of tablets down him and blah, blah, blah. And we just went through the meeting. I made him enjoy it. He qualified pole, won the race. Then he was world champion the next year. And he said that, thanked me for all that in his autobiography. But we had some funny times. I mean, I can remember when Redgate was in, when the pub Redgate was at Donington, and we were on the Hondas then, and I used to always go where the fans were at night. Anyway, we were on the Real Ale in there the night before qualifying. Anyway, woke up next morning, he's in his caravan next to mine. Anyway, we go out to qualify, and sets off down to Redgate. Of course, we didn't have tyre warmers out then, so off we went down Craner. It was quite cold. Anyway, Wayne just disappeared. He was on it. And I built up and got there, and I came in. I thought, flipping heck. Wayne didn't do much, but he qualified. And anyway, I went out the back of the garage, and they used to have these 45-gallon drums then, where you put all your rubbish in. And I saw something on the top of this drum steaming. I thought, what the hell's that? Anyway, he had too much of this real ale, shit himself, going into you know how you stand up, Ross's goal gives it all that, pulling his leg. Wayne stood up for a fart, and he followed through with it. And it was only it wasn't a very long session, so he had to get a time in. Of course, he come in, and his pants were there full of shit on top of this drum, steaming. And Donna was in there washing his ass. So I thought, you know, we had some funny times like that. It's amazing.